Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Success with Breathesober. He is an amazing, amazing person. I'm so glad that we got a chance to work together and our paths crossed. He is in the UK. He is a dad. He is a husband. He works in cybersecurity. And he joined us in January. And today we're going to talk about how his life changed since he joined us. So welcome. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Hello.
Yeah, you can hear me?
Yeah, I think my headphones just dropped off.
Oh, okay. No, I was saying, so welcome and thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I'm glad.
Obviously, we were here to discuss, how things changed after you made the decision to join Breathesober. Of course, we'll talk about what the challenges were and, how you jumped in. But could you tell us a little bit about your life before you joined us in January? What were things like? What was your relationship with alcohol like?
So, I'm a Punjabi by, ethnically. It's in my culture, there's lots of drinking. So religiously, you're not supposed to drink at all. Yeah. Culturally, it's a completely different ballgame. It's, there's lots of drinking. Like, I lost my mom because when I was in my early 20s because she was drinking. And obviously, seeing that, you always start off with, it's not going to be a problem for me. So yeah, it really started off when I went to university in my 20s, where you start, drinking to excess. I mean, obviously before that, there was drinking as well, but, it was once in a while kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And then, it went on. I started working in the City of London, various banks. So there was lots of nights out. And for some reason in this country, drinking is a big thing. And that's what it is. So there was more and more of that drinking. But it used to be too much. I mean, like looking back, it was way too much. But I wasn't drinking at home or anything like that. But every time you go out, there's just free drinks thrown at you a lot of the time. So You're drinking. You meet up with colleagues and all that. And where do you meet up? You meet up at the pub. So there's drinking, and it continued. But there was breaks there, here and there. And then COVID happened. At the same time COVID happened, I lost my job. I found another one, but it didn't start for 3 months. And then my wife was a teacher. She had to go to work. And because of that, the kids go to work. So I was at home alone all day. That's when it started escalating, right?
Yeah.
So before COVID, maybe, use the metric system here, I could drink maybe 200 milliliters of vodka, and I would be in a very inebriated place. Towards the end, before I joined this program, I could pretty much drink 700 milliliters easily in a day.
With kids, with having to look after your family.
It's spread out during the day, and they were older. I mean, it wasn't every day, but it could happen. A majority of it happened after they went to bed.
Right.
Like and then the feeling of guilt when you wake up in the morning was of when I got the same way my mom did, and just generally just completely down on myself, always feeling a guilty feeling, and then you reach for the bottle to get rid of the feeling. But that's what happened. That's just me being honest.
No, thank you for sharing that. What was, you mentioned guilt. And my next question was going to be, what were your emotional states? Like physically, of course, we can all assume that, you were feeling hungover, feeling tired, low energy, but emotionally, mentally, inside, like the side of you that your family or your friends or your coworkers didn't really get to see. What was that like towards the end before you decided to get help?
It was a dark place, and you were the last thing I tried, right? I think this would be last because this feels different from the other times. I've done the whole talking therapy thing that lasted 2 months.
Right.
I managed it, and then it started escalating again. I tried hypnotherapy that lasted about a month, and then in between COVID times, I started I have to go to the gym every day and work out till I'm about to drop dead. Again, then when the lockdowns happened, it started again. Right. And then obviously I heard you on the podcast. I was feeling very low because towards the end, my wife started noticing. Otherwise, I was very good at hiding it. But, I was just feeling really bad with myself, really hated myself because I'm going to do the same thing to my kids that did to me, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's when I thoughts go through your head. It was very bad. Then obviously I spoke to you. I only half believed it was going to work.
Why do people say that to me? I hear that quite often, but I guess
yeah, no, but it was just like he's just so desperate for something to work, right? And be like, fuck it, I'm just gonna give it a shot. If it doesn't work, I've lost a bit of money. If it does work, I've got my life back.
Yeah.
So screw it.
Okay. No, I love it. I love it. I always say that people who jump into this with both feet, who say what you said, screw it. What have I got to lose? Those are usually the people that come out on the other side, completely revamped, transformed, because they started the right way with the right energy. Both feet at the same time. Let's go. Right. So I love. So, okay. So far I understand, or we understand that, things gradually were getting worse and worse, and then COVID was the real kicker, and you found yourself in a situation that you haven't necessarily been in before. A lot of painful thoughts, the stuff that you mentioned about your mom and how you were worried. I feel like we're all worried about like not ending up like our parents kind of thing, right? Or maybe in some cases we want to be like our parents. And then your wife had started to notice, and then you were like, all right, let's do this. You heard me on a podcast, and then we had a call. You mentioned that you only half believed it. So what was it that made you say yes after hearing how it works, what's included, what we tackle, what we work on, despite having that little, I guess, fear or a hesitation? What made you still go through with it?
Well, your approach was very different. So let me expand on that, right? So going back to the talking therapies, that was based on, deal with your grief and then you won't want to drink anymore. That didn't work. Dealt with the grief. I thought it said I dealt with the grief. It didn't really work. And then with hypnotherapy, it was like, it's amygdala. Your amygdala's thing. It's like, convincing you that it's that voice in your head and you can't fight your amygdala. So you keep doing the hypnotherapy and it will make the voice in the amygdala disappear. But then it just felt like I have to do this. Otherwise, I'll just keep drinking. And if I didn't do it, I'd be like, I didn't do it. I have to drink. I can drink. I've got permission. But then when you were talking, you were like, this is, you're not an addict. It's a problem with your nervous system, right? And I was like, okay, that's a different take from what everyone else has been saying. So let me, explore this further. I heard you talking, about breathing into it. I mean, it sounded like mumbo jumbo, right? But I was so freaking desperate. Like, I was just like, give it a go. Maybe the mumbo jumbo works. I don't know. And then it's should I talk about how it progressed to where I got to this stage?
No, just whatever comes to mind. I mean, whatever comes to mind.
So when we first started, I was doing everything you said, right? But it kind of like didn't click. So I got a few days, and then because the cravings were still there, like really there, and then that would continue for a while, and probably wouldn't tell you the complete truth of what was happening because I just felt so ashamed. And then we did that chakra workshop, which again I thought, this is all not jump. And then when we were doing it, I felt the blockages in the second and fourth chakra. And fourth chakra I could tell is grief. I haven't got grief.
Yeah.
I've lost a lot of people and let go of the grief, right? But the second one was confusing because I was like, what is this? And it didn't kind of make sense, right? And so it was still battling drinking and stuff. And then one day, 51 days ago, or 52 days ago, you posted something along the lines of, it's a long post, but the two bits that stand out for me is when you said, you chose this, so it's about sitting in discomfort and not grabbing it, and it's about accountability, and that's not about grief and shame.
Just to point out to people who might be listening to this and not watching, we're talking about starting with the program when it started in January, but things didn't quite click. So there were maybe a few days, a couple of weeks maybe, but then things would go sideways. And the post that he's talking about is, I wrote a post about accountability, and within that post, I guess, when the right information finds you in the right mindset at the right time, that's when it clicks. And that's what happened with the two lines that clicked with you were, you chose this, so now go through with it, right? Like, you chose this, so now go through with it. In other words, you made your bed in the other context, now you have to sleep. So continue, please.
So that was the first thing, and then obviously the second thing was the guilt and shame, and it just clicked, and it was like my second chakra is blocked. is because I feel guilt and shame. Like being Asian, guilt and shame was used to control you as a child.
Built into our DNA, the guilt and shame.
It's just like a standard thing. You're born with guilt and shame. Like, okay, maybe we exaggerate, but you know how it is, right? So that was that. That just opened up, and yes, I thought all of this mumbo jumbo before. I don't now, right?
So thank you for sharing that. So one of my questions usually is, what was the exact moment you knew that this was working? So it sounds like the exact moment you knew was that accountability post, or the exact moment that the shift happened. That's amazing. I mean, I am so glad to hear that. So now you've been in the program a few months, and now you're almost 2 months at a complete stretch, no alcohol, no nothing. But as I always say, Breathe Sober isn't just about quitting drinking. It's about healing. So now looking back where you are today versus, the version of you that started this, what has changed? Think of emotional, physical, your mood, your mental health, sleep, everything, anything that you can share with us.
Oh yeah, I'll talk about the guilt first. So obviously before not so obviously, but even before when I had quit drinking, right? You still feel guilty for all that time I spent actually drinking and missing out and stuff, right? But then I read something, and it said you got to make friends with your addiction. It didn't say addiction, it said something else, but I took it to addiction, right? And I realized if I hadn't been addicted, I wouldn't have come to this program. I wouldn't come to this program. I would have learned chakra meditation, breath work, your nervous system. I wouldn't have learnt how to deal with all that guilt, that shame, and that grief, which talking didn't really make a difference. It was breathing into it. That has made the difference. So I've let go of that guilt. And it's like the cravings just stop, right? Okay, yeah, the first 5 days to 2 weeks, it was hard because there were times where you want to drink. But after 2 weeks, that kind of stopped. And, I still get the stray thought. It's like, oh yeah, I have a drink. And you're like, why would I want to do that to myself again? So it's like, look, and that's how good, improvement and stuff. In terms of with kids and everything, it's just it's so much better. Spend so much time, a quality time where I'm actually present.
Yeah.
Not living in the past or trying to live in the future, just living in the present.
Yeah, no, thank you for sharing, man. It's all the stuff that you shared with me about what you're doing with your kids and the kind of time that you're spending with them, that just brings so much joy to my heart. Every call, when you share something like that, it's so amazing to hear. Tell us a little bit more about what you do now. So now that you are is it safe to say that you identify as an alcohol-free version now, right?
I don't want to label myself, right?
Yeah, okay.
Because obviously there's always that fear that it'll happen again. So,
something for us.
Although this feels very different from the other times I managed to go a month and stuff, which was a constant battle, right? Whereas this is not really much of a battle right now at all.
And I guess that's the big thing. What you're describing in a nutshell, what you've just said is the difference between abstinence and healing, white knuckling and actually healing your root causes. The guilt, the shame, these are all root causes, right? And I feel like you may not have addressed these before, but now you had a way to address it. Although, sure, the ride started off as a little bit bumpy, but of course, man, anything worth doing isn't easy. You know what I mean? So there's always going to be some ups and downs. But tell us a little bit about your day-to-day life now. How do you spend your time? What brings you joy? How do you relax, and how do you unwind, and how do you enjoy yourself, and your weekends and all of that? So,
I hit the gym a lot more often than I used to.
Yeah.
Right? I still used to go to the gym quite a lot, but I hit it now really good, and also have better nutrition, a lot better nutrition. So I feel a lot better than myself. It was, a long journey, still ways to go. So like I mentioned to you, I wore a health tracker from a few weeks before I started this journey till now. So just shows my resting heart rate come down from about almost 70 to the low 50s.
Wow.
Right. My body fat percentage has gone just south of 30%. Now building more muscle. I'm losing. At first, I wasn't really losing any weight, but now I'm losing maybe half a kilo a week in terms of
a week.
Yeah,
half a kilo a week is about 2 kilos a month, so about 5 pounds a month.
Yeah, but that's when you start in the last 3 weeks. every week I've lost half
Amazing,
kilo.
dude. Amazing,
Right.
amazing. That's a healthy amount. That's
Yeah.
it's on the aggressive side, but still in the healthy umbrella, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, I do go to the gym a lot, so right. It's my like, you know, I feel good with myself after I go to the gym, so that's my thing. I just play sport with the kids. So the younger ones really into squash. I'm not very good at squash, but I go in there and try and play with them. So, you know, that helps to take the older one running on the treadmill and stuff like that. So, and then my treat usually at now, because it's very hot here at the moment, but usually my treat at night is a hot chocolate. That's nice thing. And then it sends me up to sleep as well. And yeah, at first it was a nightmare getting. One of my fears actually giving up drinking was like, oh my god, will I be able to sleep properly? And yeah, sleep was shit for the first like week and a half.
Yeah.
But like now it's a lot better. Like I go to sleep getting enough. Like with the health tracker, I can tell the REM sleep, the REM sleep, deep sleep's all going up. The metrics going up. And at first, I thought it really screwed up my nervous system. Heart rate variability is one of the metrics, and that's to do with your nervous system. But even that has started trending up now.
Amazing, man.
It took 45 days for it to start trending up. Some things take a bit longer to start healing than others.
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at the full context of this, you've been drinking 10, 15, 20 years, you know, like looking back at when you start and like how we go through college and life and then our 20s and 30s, right? So it will take a little bit longer than just a few days for things to... But that's just it, right? Like our body is so resilient. Our body wants to heal. It wants to change. But each time, you know, we take one step forward, sometimes we end up taking a few steps backward, especially when we are using alcohol to regulate ourselves. So, you know, you were in a darker place. Today, you are in a happy place. You're working on yourself. You're spending more time in the flow, in the moment with your children, staying present. This is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. So would you then say that joining Breathe Sober ultimately ended up changing your life?
Oh, it's early days yet, but yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah.
Definitely looks like it. I feel better than I have in like 20 years, man. Right.
That's amazing.
I would say to anyone listening to this, right? I read this book. It says like, you know, if you think of life as a stream flowing downwards, we always think we're in a luxury yacht and everything has to be perfect before we can do the next thing. And the reality is we're actually in a kayak. As long as you're vaguely going in the right direction,
you're good.
You're good. Things will improve. Don't expect everything. Like even still, like I could improve on loads of things still, but it's a little bit better every day. So that's
what we want. A little bit better every day. That's exactly what we want. This is such amazing stuff, man. I'm so glad to hear all of this. My next question is, you know, you mentioned in the beginning of the call that you thought to yourself that the worst thing that could happen is you lose a little bit of money. So let's talk about that, because of course all of us, we work our asses off to earn what we earn to live our life, and what we're doing is we're exchanging the only fixed source that we have, which is our life, hours, days, time. Right? We exchange that time for the money that we then spend on things that we like to do. So on that context, I guess the question that I'm asking is, was it worth it? The investment. First of all, how much did you invest, and was it worth it in the end, or so far?
What do you mean invest in the program?
Like in the program, like, you know, was that worth it for you to invest in this program to get started?
Yeah, definitely. Like if I hadn't invested in the program, okay, yeah, I haven't exactly saved money in the last couple of months because I bought things for myself. You know, I bought a bean to cup coffee machine because all I drink now is water and coffee, like, and the hot chocolate. You see that I mentioned it in the evenings. Yeah. So like I want nice coffee. So, you know, the money I saved from not drinking.
Sounds like a nice one.
Yeah, it was good, and that's going to last me more than a day and not give me a hand. So.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And lastly, I guess, what would be your advice to anyone who might be watching this that might be on the fence about getting help, about doing something, working with someone to change this about themselves? What parting words of wisdom do you have for them?
I can only say, you know, based on my own feelings, because everyone is different. Everyone has different, you know, some people, like I was a daily drinker. Some people are binge drinkers. You know, at the end, I would say it's like, if you think there's a problem, there is a problem. If you don't think there's a problem, there might still be a problem, but, you know, whatever, you wouldn't be even looking at these programs, any of these programs, your program or any other program, right? If you didn't think that's a problem. So if you think there's a problem, chances are there is a problem. And you know what? Not drinking is not, it seems scary. It's great. It's pretty good. I can't, say how great it is not drinking.
Yeah.
Because, you wake up, you can seize the day, carpe diem and all that, where you can't do if you're hungover because it's the battle to get, just remember the battles to get sober in the morning so you can do some tasks before getting drunk again. I mean, how crazy was that? That's what we do. And if you need help, this is the best place for you because everyone's going through a similar thing. You may think that, we're an online community, so everyone's spread out around the world, right? So I'll just give you one of my really good friends who's a colleague of mine. I caught up with him about 2.5 months ago. I went up to meet him, and you know what? It turns out he was drinking the same, and he also was trying to get help. So it's like, it might be closer than you think, right? So I keep in touch with him and we keep each other going as well. But, you never know. So you're not alone. People are there with you, and you just got to find something that works for you. And for me, it's Hamza and his program.
Thank you. That is a great mic drop moment. Once again, I want to thank you sincerely for sharing all of your challenges and all the success that you've been having, but in your own words, still some ways to go. And for all of you guys who spent the time to watch this, I just want you to know that no matter what you may have tried before, no matter how dark things might be for you right now, no matter how much you doubt yourself, how much fear you might have around change, around the unknown, or even, having to invest money into your healing. I just want you to know that by breathing into yourself, into shifting your focus inward, that is really when things start to change. There's nothing really that special about sobriety, when you think about it, but the reality is sobriety opens up what we should have already been feeling. So all this amazingness that we feel is because we have been deprived of it for so long. So if you're still drinking today and you feel a certain way, you should just know that wherever you are now, there is several more notches, several more levels in terms of improving the quality of your daily life, your mood, your energy, your relationships, your sleep, the way you look, the way you feel, all of it. And that's it for me. Until next time, thank you guys for watching.